Okay, everyone, today I am joined by Baz Francis. You know him from Magic 8 Ball and Mansion Harlots, and today he's here to chat with me. What's going on, Baz? How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. I'm really honored to be one of your first guests on the show. So thank you
Oh,
for having me.
pleasure is all mine, brother. All mine. So, you've been keeping busy during the quarantine and stuff?
I've been um, writing new material, working on some other stuff. I've also been doing a lot of cover videos to keep my brain ticking and to keep a sense of fun about my days. And I have got to play a few times as well in various settings, but all of it has been good for my general well-being because music is what I do to have fun. But unfortunately, a downside to making music is there is a lot of boring editing stuff and a lot of rigmarole involved involving that. So um, yes, I it's funny, I get away from the stresses that music causes me by making more music.
All right, you were born in England and not too far outside of London, correct?
That's correct. I was born in Ascot, which is famous for the race course where the Queen goes once a year and waves at people.
Oh, wow. Well, what was it like growing up out there? I mean, I have no idea, but
I had a very privileged upbringing, and the older I get, the more I realize how unique it was. Um, we lived in essentially a manor house near Windsor Castle, and there was a cellar that hundreds of years prior to that had a tunnel that was linked to Windsor Castle.
oh my.
It was not functioning when we lived there, but it was very old. It was about 350 years old, and they filmed commercials there. It was, pretty a pretty unique existence. And I grew up around children of celebrities. And when Windsor Castle was burning, I saw that. I went to a royal procession once when I was about 5. And I think I saw Lady Di and Prince Charles go by in their carriage. But I was more interested in this little girl from another school who couldn't keep it in and was peeing in a ditch. So I was always drawn to the lowbrow side of high living.
That's awesome. And you played in your youth. Like, when did you get into music? You played. Us Americans call it soccer, but I read that you played soccer up until around the age of 14, or should I call it football?
Yeah, that was really. I will. I'll forgive you for calling it soccer.
Thank you.
But yeah, I played that up until the age of 15. But the thing was, by that point, I still loved watching it, but my time every Sunday I used to go and play. And I played for a side, and we were terrible. We'd lose by incredible scores each week. It was humiliating, and by that point, I had discovered music, and at this point, I was 15. So I didn't want to be spending my Sundays cold, muddy, and getting kicked and losing when I could be at home with my guitar. And then, I still enjoy the odd kickabout every now and then, and I still support Chelsea and Colombia, but music became my passion at that age, and here I am an old man and still a musician.
And a great one.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, I was never really into soccer slash football until I was actually out with Donnie and Mike making beautiful things. And Mike would have soccer on the TV almost all day long, especially when his son came home, because his son was, I believe, plays soccer. But yeah, so I started, and I do like sports, and I always knew that someday I would get into soccer. It was just a matter of time because all the strategy, I love all that stuff with sports. And yeah, so I end up getting into it, man. So I'm kind of a soccer guy now. I'm right, or football guy. I'll just keep saying soccer. Just I know it's wrong, but so people
It's
understand.
so
So
weird. It's so weird you should say that, because I actually watched the last World Cup final with those very people you described during the making of Beautiful Things.
wow. Okay, so they was that when they came out to over by you, right? Was that in California or?
That was in Oceanside, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to make that trip so bad and be able to meet you and everything, but I just couldn't do it. Yeah.
Well, we're getting to do this now.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take this any day. Um, so you mentioned around the age of 15 you started getting into music. Um, was it was it guitar, or were you a singer right away, or how did you kind of start?
Well, I played guitar, and I got my first guitar when I was 14, and I had no idea how to play the thing. I wasn't even into rock music at the time. I just wanted to play electric guitar. And I was playing on one string, and I just had no concept of musicality. And then around the time I turned 15, I discovered pretty much my favorite band to this day, the Manic Street Preachers. And all of a sudden, I had a guitar hero to look up to. And I wanted to start a band, but I couldn't find a singer. So I just started singing um, to fill in the time until we got a singer. And well, I never found that singer, and I just kept going. And here I am doing that now, and it became something that became almost my first instrument, because a lot of people know me now as a singer rather than a guitarist. Um, so it is what it is, but it's nice to have different feathers in my cap. But as I grew up and did lots of gigs and rehearsals without a PA system, it strengthened my voice. So I was able to, after so many years, start doing the things that the guy from the Manic Street Preachers did with his voice. Not to say that I'm as good as him, but I started to hit those notes, and I was like, oh, wow, practice does pay off, kids.
I always wanted to be a singer, and I tried so hard for so long. I can't do it. I can't do it. So you're lucky. You're born with such a good voice, and you got.
I wasn't, I wasn't, I didn't have a singer's voice at all. I just kept singing in my bedroom, later in my car, around the house. I hit a million and one bum notes, finding out how to hit those notes that Axel does. And I made a lot of mistakes. I had a lot of embarrassing slip ups on stage. So if you have, some respect for what I do, please don't think that it was a natural I just got out of bed one day as a teenager and it happened. I had no musical flair at all, but I got to being the musician I am now through a lot of trial and error. So I do believe that anyone, if I can be a singer or considered a singer, then I believe that anyone can be.
Great.
And my wife says that she can't sing. And I told her that I don't believe that, but I believe anyone can sing. And then it's almost like she deliberately then tries to sing out of tune and forget the words. And she does this thing and she starts singing a song and then she'll just get the words wrong. And then she'll go remix. And it's like, no. You saying remix doesn't make the mistakes right. But I think she's just trying to test my patience and wind me up.
Definitely. It sounds that way to me, but your influences, you mentioned the Manic Street Preachers. What are some of your other influences that you can think of right now that maybe back in the earlier days that had more of an impact on you?
I mean, I got into music through Marvin Gaye. So that predated my love affair with rock. Then the Manic Street Preachers were the band that got me into rock and roll. But a band I had been intrigued with from the earliest age, who in my later teens went on to become almost the same level of inspiration to me as the Manics, is Queen. And then you skip through to my 20s, Alice Cooper and Aerosmith, Roses, and also one band that has remained a consistent love of mine from my very earliest musical ventures through to the present day is Everclear. I love the Wild Hearts, a great British band. I'm probably forgetting a whole lot of other bands along the way, but I think that's a good indication as to how I got into music, and Nirvana as well.
Okay, yeah. You're mentioning all these bands, and I'm thinking about your music, and I'm hearing all these influences in there. It's pretty cool, because I love
That's a
your.
really nice thing to say.
I love your music. I've been jamming it ever since Donnie and Mike told me about you, and those guys are really really high on you. By the way, if you don't know, they said so many great things about you and your talent, and I was just like, man, I got to check this guy out. So yeah, I've been a fan ever
I
since.
love them both.
Oh, they're great, aren't they? You're a teenager, you're getting into music, you're playing the guitar, and somewhere around that, when did you actually move to the United States?
2017. I had been coming here to this country. Well, I first came here technically in 1988, but I never left Miami Airport. I started coming to this country in 2001, and at the moment I landed in San Francisco, I was like, this is me. This is me. And I didn't want to, I wanted to move to California, but I was very close with my grandparents, and I did not want to live on the other side of the world to them. And when my grandmother passed away 10 years ago now, and my grandfather died 5 years ago. And at that point, I turned to my wife and I said, it's time. And that's why we've been living here ever since. And you know, it's kind of weird because like I had an incident yesterday. This lady came up to me and she said, "Oh, you've got an accent. Where are you from?" And I said, "England." "How long have you been here?" I said, 3 years. And she goes, "Your English is very good." And I went, "Yeah." I thought, what? What? You think we speak Dutch? You know? So it, it's it's funny because when I talk, I use certain Americanisms in the way I speak that my friends in England don't. And yet, the moment an American hears me, they hear, "All right, governor, how?" And I feel as American as I do English. I feel as Colombian as I do American, and as Spanish as I do Colombian. So, uh, without wanting to sound cliched, I do feel like a citizen of the world. You know, my best friends, who I consider to be my true family, they're scattered all over the world, and that's the beauty of being a touring musician. You go out to places that were once just areas on a map, and they become the homes of people you love very dearly, who welcome you into their lives. And I wouldn't, and it means that I could never have all my friends in one place at the same time. That is sad. However, it would be a lot sadder to have them not be in my life, and for all my friends to just be those I went to school with, who happen to be in my local bar every week. Yawn, yawn, yawn. I chose a life less ordinary, and you know, the people you mentioned before, you know, Donnie and Mike, I wouldn't have met them had I just, you know, sat on my butt in England, going, "Oh, this is all right. Oh, I don't want to travel. No, 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 no. This is the best country in the world. Everyone else has got it wrong." I wanted to see the world, and you know, I was very fortunate to grow up traveling that with my parents. But it really was a defining point in my life, landing in San Francisco in early 2001 and going, "Huh, this is the place."
Yeah, that San Francisco is beautiful. I could see why you were like, yeah. Now you're in New Mexico, right? You're living in New Mexico?
Yes, currently staying in New Mexico. I cannot bring myself to say living. I I've like I said, even before I moved to California, I was Californian in spirit, and it's home. This Since moving here, which I've had to do temporarily because of my wife's work, I was like, okay, well, at least I can commute back to California, which I have done, you know, several times, quite a few times actually. So it's doable. But I get out my car in LA and I see my people and I go, "Hey," and it's hugs and "I love you" and all this. I get to New Mexico and people shout abuse at me. So yeah, I've tried really hard to sort of settle in here, but it's no disrespect to Albuquerque, the few friends I do have here, but it's not. It never's been and it never will be. And no matter where I am in the world, California will always be home.
Cool. Yeah, you did a show recently, and in Roswell, was it Roswell, New Mexico, that you played that show?
Roswell, that's correct. Yeah, and it was I'd never been to Roswell before, so I thought, let's do this. And it was Halloween, you know. And if you
Yeah.
have you ever been to Roswell?
No, I haven't. But
Um, Everything there is UFO themed. You have a UFO museum. Even the McDonald's is shaped like a UFO.
oh wow.
And it was really nice to go there. And it was great to be able to perform again live. And yeah, I was lucky to be able to do that. But at the moment, I don't know what's going on with live music, just like everyone else. So who knows when the next time will be.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy times. I know they're getting close to getting a vaccine out. Um, I heard on the news the other day that they're hoping by like mid-June, everyone would have been vaccinated that wants to be vaccinated. So hopefully, at least sometime midsummer or maybe even late summer, we can get everything back. You know, at least partially back, because there's so many people that work in music right now that you know roadies, techs, light show guys, all those guys, they're all completely out of work, and it's horrible for so many people.
Absolutely.
So do you remember what your first guitar was?
I remember it, but I don't know what make it was. There was I guess the polite way to describe this place that I got it was a secondhand store. It was a junk shop. And they had electric guitars in there and used to sell them for £50 each. So what's that, $65? And I got this electric guitar, and it was kind of a copy of a Gibson, a Gibson. What are those hollow-bodied ones? Um, anyway, it was had the fire finish, you know, and all that, and it had all these effects on it, which was no good really because I couldn't play the thing yet. But yeah, that was my first guitar. This Gibson copy with loads of built-in effects to it. And I sometimes see a version of it floating around, but never exactly the one I had.
Nice. Was the outfit the way you dressed at your Roswell show? Was that just a Halloween kind of thing, or is that the look now?
It's it's the look from my Keep Me Out the Sunlight video with Magic 8 Ball. And that I get requests to dress like that for Halloween. But I have also worn the skeleton suit on tour in summer months, and when we played Whitby Weekend, which was in May a few years back, I was wearing all of the makeup too. So it's not just a Halloween thing, but it's most popular at Halloween.
Let's talk about your new album. You are working on a new
That's
record.
okay. I'm working on 3 short form releases at the moment. I've got a new solo EP coming out, which has Mickey Richards on drums, and Mickey also plays on my forthcoming single with Donny V, that is. And he had an unreleased song he thought I should record, which I did. And I also have cut a single with Chris Hazlitt, who's a very talented singer-songwriter from England.
Great. When any idea when those will be out?
early next year now. My solo EP started off as a single and it started to grow. So it's taking a little longer than expected, but coming soon, coming soon. I should hope within the first months of 2021.
So you're doing a song Donnie wrote that he never released?
Yeah, that's right. He sent me the demo one day and said, "You should do this."
Huh.
And I listened to it and it was brilliant. And I'm like, well, I'd love to, but I'd also love to hear you do it too. But he was being very generous, and there you go. So if people hear the song that I recorded, his song, and like it, then petition to get him to cut his own version or release the demo.
That's great. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear that. It's going to be awesome. So you a long time ago started a band. Well, what was first? Was it Mansion Harlots or was it Magic 8 Ball?
Mansion Harlots. We formed in 1997, and then I disbanded us in 1999. But then formed Magic 8 Ball a few years later. Magic 8 Ball has and is still going to this very day. But I brought back Mansion Harlots again with Will Gray in 2018. And that's who I that's who I released an album with last year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Magic 8 Ball. That's cool that it's sort of this ever revolving band that, you know, the only constant is you, and it's just been going, for, would you say, around 15 years?
I think 16 years.
16? Yeah.
16 years, actually. And people come back into the fold as well.
Okay.
Robbie J. Holland, who is the longest serving member of Magic 8 Ball apart from myself, I went to see him in Liverpool a few months ago, and we played a Magic 8 Ball set on the radio up there, which was wonderful.
Ah,
So yeah, people who have been a part of the band before are still very much part of my uh, my inner circle and sometimes musical circle.
Magic Cat record label. Is that your record label, or what is Magic Cat record label?
I realized growing up that people would say, I have my own label, or I'm this, or I'm that. And they had no qualification to say that. They just liked the sound of being a CEO. And I watched the way in which people ran their businesses, and I was like, well, I don't feel I need to be a part of that to help myself. I don't think that would benefit me. So I wanted to create my own label through which I could release my music and my collaborations and do it on my terms. And that's why I formed Magic Cat Records in 2011.
2011. Wow. That's awesome. That's a great idea.
And I still don't call myself a CEO.
Oh, you could, though, if you wanted to. That's the important thing.
when I fill in paperwork, which I have to do for it, they do ask who is the director of the business. And that always makes me laugh because I'm not really what I will director material.
All right, let's get back into some some music questions. When um, when you write a song, typically, what's the process? Is it you kind of come up with a guitar part you like, or maybe hear like a melody in your head? And I know there's probably a million different ways you've wrote songs, but like, what's the more typical process that you come up with something?
Coming up with a very basic structure, some like maybe it's chords, and then establishing a rough melody for where I want to go with it. Progressed with my music, I have become more involved in riffs. And by riffs, I mean, in a rock sense, more hooky, almost lead parts within my riffs. Like, for example, Keep Me Out the Sunlight. The main riff of that is, it starts off with individual notes. So rather than it just be about strumming a guitar, it's about something else as well. You know, like you said, there's so many different ways that you can skin a cat,
Yeah.
and that happened to be the best treatment for that song. And then there are some songs where I just strum the guitar, and that's what I feel is best for it. And I always like to be open-minded to the idea of a type of song that I haven't written before. And in fact, I've just written a song for the new EP, and I composed all the music on my phone, and I recorded it using a computer keyboard.
Oh,
And it was a first, and it was a challenge. And it's not the only way in which I will write songs from now on, but it's a way.
yeah. How do you typically get your ideas down? Do you have a little studio or something to get your ideas down? Or when you record, do you have to go
Mm-hmm.
to a studio or?
I record, I have my own makeshift studio set up wherever I am residing, and I'm able to record so much through doing that. But then I get drums recorded elsewhere and going to studios to mix, to get the releases mixed and mastered, and to add instruments that I don't have to hand.
Great. All right. Yeah. So it sounds like you can get a lot of it done on your own. That's very cool. Yeah, it's pretty wild today with all the technology, how you can, do your part and send it off to somebody, and then they can do their stuff and send it back to you, and it can just go all over, and you don't even have to leave the house.
It's pretty great, but at the same time, I do like the human interaction, and I miss that. And with quarantine, it's been great to be able to work with people remotely, but at the same time, I would have liked to have given Mickey Richards a hug when I worked with him, or uh, received some of Donny's pearls of wisdom and classic insults and burns in person, and not just through the feed on my Facebook.
Right. Yeah, the quarantine's been hard on everyone. I hear what you're saying. I miss the interaction with people. I have a band I haven't seen in a while. Yeah, it's tough, but at least we do have some of these ways that we can, people like you can keep going. At least you can keep recording, and because if we didn't have the technology, I no one would be able to record anything right now. I mean, I doubt there are many studios open. Maybe they are, but maybe they're, I don't know if they're open or not, but yeah, at least with the technology, everyone can keep recording, getting their ideas down, and it doesn't have to completely halt. When everything comes back, hopefully, you'll have tons of new material to work with, and you'll be ready to go, huh?
And I think that's what's been a blessing for us all throughout quarantine, is the fact that we've had the internet. Can you imagine if we went into quarantine in the 80s? Everyone would be even more bored than they are now. And I always think it's a blessing that all the many things we can do with our phones, and we can record music, take photos and videos. These were all, when I started Mansion Harlots in the 90s, a camera that takes photos was considered high tech. So to have all this at my mine and my disposal and everyone's disposal on our phones is just, I think, a blessing. And thanks to having the internet wherever we go, it means that I can still keep up to date with Wikipedia and Pornhub when I go to Starbucks.
Classic.
I'm not allowed back in Starbucks now.
No. How about lyrically? When you come up with lyrics, do they come kind of easy to you, or is it something that, if it comes out right away and you got the whole song the first time, then great. But otherwise, is it kind of a process of replacing words here and there over the next couple of weeks or months, or however long you work on the song?
I do tweak lyrics throughout the recording process. For me, lyric writing isn't something that I struggle with. Through doing this for so long, it's become something that I've learned how to do, and I've learned how to draw from my own experiences and put it into words. I'm always talking anyway, so I kind of have found a way in which to vocalize that through my music, and of course, just because I can write lyrics doesn't mean that everyone's going to like them. It's all subjective, but I like them, and they are true expressions of what I want to say and what's going on in my mind at that time. So yeah, it's not a chore. It's not always easy, but it's not this roadblock. And it's only when speaking to other people and hearing them say, "Oh, I would do this, but I've got no lyrics." I really think that I'm blessed in that respect, because I don't have that stumbling block. I don't get X amount into a project and then go, "Well, I can't any further, no words." So yeah, I found a way in which to also not overthink the process. I think a lot of people overthink it, and I find that the lyrics, that the starter lyric of any song I work on just comes out. I just sing the first that comes into my head, and it usually is about something going on around me, and then I pull the thread and see where it goes. So that's my way of working it, and it seems to work.
It's a good way to do it, man. Can't wait to hear some of the new stuff from the new EP and the new singles you have coming out. Um, do you have any plans? I know it's hard to make any kind of future plans as far as tours and or show, even like a show here and there would be kind of probably hard to do at this point. But do you have anything in the process in the future that hasn't been canceled yet?
I am due on the radio in Costa Mesa, California, in at the end of this month, and that's where I'm going to be spending Christmas with my family. And on the way back, I'm going to stop by my good friend Rick Morgan and play on his show. And that's going ahead. And the other week, I filmed a Christmas performance. It was a version of Silent Night, which I sang and played guitar on, and my friend Luke Seelau played drums on. And it's being broadcast on TV in New Mexico on the show New Mexico Living on Christmas Day itself, I believe. It's part of their Christmas special.
Okay, yeah, because I watched your interview with them. It was a couple days ago, and I actually thought it was yesterday, but it was the day before. And I saw a picture of you with the guitar and your drummer and the Christmas lights and all that, and I was like, "Where's that video? I want to watch that," but I couldn't. I couldn't find it because it wasn't.
They did show a little clip of it in the interview I did today, but I filmed on Monday. You're correct, and they said it should be out on Christmas Day itself, and I'm looking forward to it because it's. I thought, you're doing Silent Night. The way in which some people might approach it is by trying to be bratty or rebellious and like do like a 3-chord, generic punk cover. And I thought that would be futile. I didn't see any musical merit to butchering it, to really stick it to people. I thought what would be more punk rock would be to do it in a traditional sense and flavor it with a little bit of my soul influences as well. And that's what we did. And we got the take we wanted. And it's a good job we did it the other week because it's been snowing here today. So I think I would have been a bit cold, wearing that blouse, the front bit hanging down. But yeah, we got that in the can. And, it'll be out soon.
That's great. Yeah, I love the fact that that station out there, I can't remember the station name, but it's great that they're
KRQE.
KRQE. Yep. Thank you. And it's great that, they realize they have someone like you, living locally, an international star, really. And it's great they're having you on their show. I think that's really cool.
Well, they have been very gracious. The local radio station KUNM have been equally so. I've also had support from some papers out here as well, RQE and New Mexico Living. RQE is actually the news network. It's a Fox affiliate, and New Mexico Living's their morning show.
Okay.
And yeah, I went in and I sang on their show live in February, and they're a really professional setup there, and they are great ambassadors for their craft. But generally speaking, I've struggled to find people like that in this town, as opposed to LA, where, and I'm not, looking at LA through rose-tinted glasses and saying everyone in Hollywood is wonderful and no one's looking out for themselves. But LA does have a great musical community. There is always an opportunity to gig. You might not always get paid, but there's always something going on. You can always be a part of something. And that is why I will forever stand by the statement that LA is my favorite place on earth. And for me, the best place a musician can go to make music.
I'm looking forward to all your new releases and your new record. And thanks for being on the show. I had a good time, and
Me too.
was finally able to actually speak to you in person. It's been a while since I've wanted to do this, and you did not disappoint, my friend.
I was about to say, I hope I didn't disappoint you then. It's a pleasure to speak to you, and we will do this in person for real. Our IRL, as the young kids call it. We'll do it.
That'll be fantastic. I look forward to that, man. The day I just want to give you a big hug, you know. So someday,
Ditto.
I'll give you a big hug.
Someday indeed. I
All
look
right.
forward to it. Un abrazo más grande, mi amigo.
All right, brother. We'll have you on again next year, okay? After some singles are out, or maybe your album's out, or if you just want to come
That
on
would be
and say hi,
wonderful.
that'd be great.
That would be wonderful. And have a wonderful Christmas and New Year with your family in the meantime.
Yeah, you too, brother. You too. I appreciate that.